If you're trying to figure out when Social Security payments will be made this month, you've come to the right place. I'm going to give you the specific dates when Social Security benefits, SSDI and SSI are going to be paid. Some of you are going to receive double payments this month, so stay tuned for those dates. Also, I have a lot of news updates for Social Security and disability. President Biden has a plan to change Social Security next year. I'm going to give you details about his 4-part plan and the 3 issues that people have expressed concern about his plan. And then the New York Times just reported that the Social Security Administration is experiencing issues that are causing delays in processing some benefits. So I want to give you an update on that. And then finally, about 1 million people are at risk of losing their Social Security and disability benefits or getting it suspended. And I want to give you updates on that. So let's jump right into it. There's a lot to cover today. So this is what I want to cover with you. Your Social Security and SSDI payments are going to arrive soon. The first batch are coming in a few days. And then there's double payments for SSI benefits this month. I'm going to give you those dates. And then, as I mentioned, President Biden wants to change Social Security. There's a lot of issues that's happening with Social Security benefits that need to be fixed. And he's presented a plan. The Republicans in Congress have also presented their plan. I'm going to give you all the details and the 3 big problems with the president's plan. And then, as I mentioned, 1 million people, according to 60 Minutes, are about to lose or get their benefits suspended because of overpayments. And then finally, I have this New York Times story that just came out yesterday that talks about major issues at the Social Security Administration that is causing delays. A lot to cover today. So if you are new to this channel, I want to urge you to hit the subscribe button. Let's get started. So here's what's going on. The first round of Social Security payments are about to hit in a few days. But before we get into the actual dates, you need to know how the Social Security payments work. If your birthday is between the 1st and the 10th of December, you're going to get your payment the second Wednesday of December. If your birthday is between the 11th and the 20th, you're going to get your Social Security or SSDI payments on the third Wednesday of the month. And if your birthday is between the 21st and the 31st, your Social Security or SSDI benefits are going to hit your bank account on the 4th Wednesday of the month. If you're on SSI benefits, your benefits are usually paid on the 1st of every month, unless you live outside the U.S. or you receive both SSI and Social Security benefits, or your state pays for your Medicare premiums, or you apply for Social Security before 1997. If you fall in one of those 4 categories, then your Social Security or SSI benefits are going to be paid on the 3rd of the month. So what are the actual dates that we're talking about for December? Well, if you're on Social Security and SSDI, the first payment is on December the 13th, and that is for those whose birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th of the month. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th of December, you should expect your Social Security benefits or SSDI on Wednesday, December the 20th. And then lastly, if your birthday is between the 21st and 31st of the month, then your benefits will be paid on December the 27th. So those are the Social Security and SSDI payment schedule for December. If you're on SSI benefit, you should have received your first payment on Friday, December the 1st. And those of you who fall under the 4 categories that I described, you live outside the U.S., you receive both SSI and Social Security benefits, your state pays for your Medicare premium, or you file for Social Security before 1997, your benefits were paid on Friday, December the 1st also, because your regular payment date, which was December the 3rd, fell on a Sunday. So your benefits were paid earlier. I mentioned the second payment for SSI benefits. That's going to happen on Friday, December the 29th. And this is not extra money. It's just your January payment coming in early because January the 1st, 2024, which is almost here, is a holiday. So since SSI benefits are not paid on weekends or holidays, your benefit is going to come earlier on Friday, December the 29th. That's why you have double SSI payments this month. Now, for those of you who have your payment dates have come and gone, and you still have not received your benefits, here is what you can do. The first thing the Social Security Administration advises is that you wait 3 business days, because there may be some technical issues that may have caused your benefits to be delayed. And so waiting is to ensure that those issues are addressed. It may be with your bank, it may be on the Social Security end, but wait 3 business days. If nothing happens, if your benefits do not show up after 3 days into your account, then you can call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213. Or if you have a My Social Security account, you've set up an account online, you can go online to see what is happening. It may be an overpayment issue, and I'm about to talk about that. A lot of you are going to be receiving letters about overpayment, so you want to know what that is about. But if your benefits have not come in and you've waited 3 business days, that could be one of the reasons why. Or it may have been canceled because of a violation of Social Security rules. And that is something that you can find out online, or you can go to the Social Security Administration in your local area to find out exactly why your Social Security or disability benefits have not hit your account. So that is the first thing I want to cover. Now, let's jump into the president's plan to reform Social Security. As I mentioned, something has to be done. Social Security cannot continue the way it is because more money is coming out of the system than is going in. So the president has presented a 4-part plan, which I think is actually a very solid plan. So I'm going to share the details for you and how it's going to affect everybody receiving Social Security and future beneficiaries, and then you can make your own decision about it. As I said, the Republicans in Congress also have their own plan. I have recorded a video about that. It's in the video library, so check that out so you can make a comparison on whose plan you think is better. But let's jump into the president's plan. So President Biden's plan, which is 4 parts, is going to cost $273 billion to implement. That's a big price tag. So what is in the plan? Well, before we get into that, let's figure out why there's even a need to do this. So you may know, but you may not know, but 9 out of 10 retirees rely on Social Security. And the program has lifted millions of people out of poverty that face financial challenges. But because of the demographic shift that is happening, because there's a record number of people retiring in the baby boomer generation, there is a $22 trillion funding shortfall that needs to be addressed, which means that if nothing is done, the system is going to face a crisis. And that is why the president is proposing the 4-part plan. So here is what President Biden's Social Security reform plan looks like. The first part is to increase payroll taxation on high-income earners. The second part is to change the inflationary index. For those of you who are on benefits that were disappointed by the COLA, the 2024 cost of living adjustment, you want to pay attention to number 2. Number 3, if you are receiving a special minimum benefit, it means that you're getting the lowest Social Security benefit anybody can get. This is going to make you happy because the president is proposing to increase that. And then finally, there is the primary insurance amount, which for those of you who are 78 and 82 is going to be an increase in your benefit. So let's jump right into the details of the president's plan. So the first part of his plan is to increase the payroll taxation on high-income earners. So under the current system, everybody who makes up to $160,200 pays 12.4% in payroll taxes. That is in 2023. And each year, that is adjusted up. In addition, previously, there used to be another threshold where if you made $400,000 or more, you also paid Social Security taxes. That was eliminated. The president wants to bring that back. Why? Because, as I mentioned, there is more money coming out of the Social Security system that is going in. So there is a couple of ways to fix that. One of the ways is to raise taxes and bring in more money. So the president's plan is to increase Social Security tax on high-income earners so that there will be 2 categories of Social Security tax. The first one is for those who make up to $160,000, $200,000, they will pay the 12.4%. And then if you make more than $400,000, you're also going to pay Social Security taxes on anything $400,000 and above. So if you make $400,000 and above, the first $160,200 of your payroll, you'll get taxed. And then after that, anything above $400,000 will also get taxed. That then creates what they call the donut hole, because then you're going to have this gap between somebody that makes over $400,000, but this pocket of their income is not taxed. So the idea is that over time, that donut hole will be closed because the national average wage index grows, and each year that earnings cap grows, and so over time, the $160,200 will catch up to the $400,000, and then everybody will pay Social Security taxes. The goal of that is to bring in more money into the system. That's the first part of the president's plan. The second part is to change the inflationary index. This is really important. When we did a post and announced the cost of living adjustment for 2024, a lot of you were disappointed. It was 3.2%, which is going to take effect in January 2024. And a lot of you were complaining or disappointed that it is not enough because inflation has gone up and stayed up. Prices of goods have gone up and stayed up. And you're not seeing the decrease in inflation that the government is talking about, because for some of you, healthcare costs, prescription drug costs has gone up and stayed up. So here is the problem that the president is trying to fix. The current inflationary index that is used to calculate COLA for Social Security and disability beneficiaries is what they call the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Each year, in the third quarter, they're going to look at a list of goods and services that affect urban wage earners and clerical workers. And they will compare the list of goods and services to the price of those same goods and services the previous year. If prices have gone up this year, then your COLA is adjusted up. If prices stay the same, nothing happens. If prices go down, they cannot adjust your COLA down. By law, your Social Security benefits cannot go down. They can only go up or stay the same. The problem with this index is that a lot of people are complaining that it is pegged with an index that is not realistic, because urban wage earners and clerical workers are not the people on Social Security benefits. So why is the government then using an index for people that are actually not on those benefits? So what the president wants to propose is to use a different index called the CPIE, which is the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, that is going to look at spending habits of households with individuals aged 62 and over. And so this will show a realistic value on what happens to the spending of people in that category. And the hope is that when the COLA is calculated using this, it will show the cost that seniors and people on disability have been experiencing that is not necessarily reflected in the current CPIW, which only looks at urban wage earners and clerical workers, people who are typically not on Social Security and disability. So I think this is a very, very, very solid idea that is going to change COLA and make sure that your Social Security and disability benefits truly reflect the inflation and the increase in prices and the cost of living increases that people on disability and Social Security actually face. The third part of the plan is to increase the special minimum benefit. What does this mean? Well, if you've paid into Social Security benefits, regardless of how much money you made while you were working, there is a special benefit, minimum benefit that you can receive. So if you worked, let's say you work a minimum wage job, you didn't make a lot of money, so you didn't have a big salary or wage when you paid into the system, if they use the current calculation, you're going to get a very small benefit. So what the government has done is they've placed a special minimum benefit that regardless of how much you paid into the Social Security system, you are going to be eligible for that special minimum benefit. The problem is that that special minimum benefit is very low. So the president wants to adjust that benefit to 125% of the federal poverty level. So let's look at what that means. So if you are one of the 40% of Social Security recipients that only relies on Social Security as their main sources of income, and all you get is the special minimum benefit, you are actually living below poverty. So currently, the special minimum benefit is $1,033. And next year is going to go up by $33 to $1,066. So if you multiply that by 12 on an annual basis, if all you get is the special minimum benefit, you're getting $12,700 in Social Security benefits. That is really low. That is below the poverty line. And here is the chart for 2023 on what the poverty table looks like. This is something the government releases every year to show, according to the government, what the poverty level is. Why is this important? Well, this is used to calculate eligibility for a lot of government programs like SNAP benefits, disability, Medicaid. So it's an important data that is released every year by the government. Well, if you look at it, for an individual to be at poverty or below poverty, you have to make $14,580. When you look at the special minimum benefit, it is $12,798 a year for 2024. That is definitely below the poverty line. So what the president is suggesting is to increase that to 125% of the poverty line. So your special minimum benefit will grow from $12,798 to $18,225. And that, if that change is adopted by Congress, that will increase the special minimum benefit by 47%. It will go from $12,798 to $1,518 a month, which is a huge difference. Going from $1,033 to $1,518 is about a 50% jump, which is going to make a big difference in those who only receive the special minimum benefit and only rely on that as their main source of income. So I think that is a solid part of the plan. And then finally, the president wants to increase what they call the primary insurance amount. Let me explain what that means. So currently, before you get on Social Security benefits, when they are calculating your benefits, there is a primary insurance amount, which is a baseline by which other things are added. So if you made a lot of money, you get credit for that. If you work longer, you get credit for that. So all those variables are added to the primary insurance amount to arrive at how much Social Security benefits you're going to get. However, for people ages 78 to 82, those on Social Security benefits experience special medical and healthcare costs that eats into their Social Security benefits. So what the president wants to do is adjust the primary insurance amount for that category of Social Security beneficiaries to make sure that as they get into that age group, they receive a little more Social Security benefits to account for the increase in healthcare costs that is associated with people in that age group. So that is the fourth part of the president's plan. As I mentioned, it's going to change the way the COLA is calculated. Is going to bring back taxes on people that make more than $400,000. They're going to pay more Social Security taxes so that more money will come into the system. So essentially, the president's plan is aimed at addressing the current challenges of bringing more money in, but also boosting benefits to certain categories of beneficiaries, and also adjusting for inflation so that Social Security and disability benefits will catch up to inflation and reflect the true cost of the goods and services that people in this category are affected by on a daily basis. So that is the president's plan. But there are three problems with the plan. Experts have reviewed the plan and have three concerns. And here they are. The first one, as I mentioned, the president wants to increase payroll taxes, Social Security taxes on high income earners. And what critics are saying is that it's just going to cause people in that income group to shift their income elsewhere. And if you're not aware of this, people who earn high income have various sources of income, and some of them get to decide what they want to claim as their income. So what critics are saying about the president's plan is that if you tax high income earners, if you increase the Social Security taxes on high income earners, all they're going to do is shift their income elsewhere. Is this true or not? I don't know. But that is what the experts are saying. The second criticism that the president's plan is facing is that even with that price tag, it only shifts or increases the lifespan of the Social Security program by about 5 years. So what the critics are saying is that they want something that will boost the Social Security Trust Fund more than 5 years, because the way things stand now, if nothing is done, in 2035, the Social Security Trust Fund is going to experience serious problems. So the president's plan is going to increase the lifespan of the trust fund by 5 years, and the critics are saying they want to see more. They want to see a longer term plan to do that. And then lastly, one of the biggest critics of this plan is that regardless of what the president wants to do, it has to go through Congress. And to get that done, there has to be a bipartisan effort to fix this. And since the president has his own plan and Republicans have their own plan, somehow they have to come together to make this happen. And if we know how Congress works today, that is a big challenge. So what the experts are saying is that, one, there needs to be a focus on crafting a bipartisan plan to address Social Security challenges. And number two is to increase public awareness. They want the president, people in Congress to go and explain this change to the American public, because it's going to affect everybody. Everybody on Social Security and disability benefits is going to be affected by, regardless of what plan is adopted, whether it's the president's plan or the Republican plan, it's going to affect everybody. So the critics are saying that there needs to be more education going out and explaining what the plan means to the American people. So that is the president's Social Security plan. And here is the third update I want to give you on this very important story from 60 Minutes that just came out probably about a week ago concerning Social Security and overpayments. Essentially, the Social Security Administration is sending out letters to 1 million people who have overpayments and is trying to get their money back. People are getting letters that they owe $50,000, $70,000, even $120,000 in overpayments, and they have 30 days to pay it back. So 60 Minutes did a whole story to profile 3 of these people that have been impacted. They include Social Security recipients and disability recipients who got money that they were even not aware that they were receiving, and then were hit with a bill to pay it back. So let's jump right into it. So why is this even necessary? Why is this even happening? Well, essentially, there are 71 million people getting benefits today. And out of that, 1 million people each year somehow end up in an overpayment situation. It means that the Social Security Administration, for months or even for years, were sending these people more money than they deserve. And you're probably asking, how did this happen? Well, I'm going to explain that. But essentially what happens is that people get this surprise letter in the mail that they owe thousands and thousands of dollars and have 30 days to pay. So if you receive one of these letters, I'm going to give you 3 things you can do to resolve this issue, because one thing you cannot do is ignore a letter from the Social Security Administration about overpayment, because what they're going to do if they don't hear from you is they're going to take your benefits to pay the money back, or they're going to take a portion of your benefits to pay it back. So if you don't want that to happen, stay tuned for the 3 things that you can do to fix it. So let's get into the 60-minute story. The first one is a story of Stephen and Becky Sword. So this is a crazy story that you have to hear to believe it. So they got a letter from the Social Security Administration for $51,000 that they owe, and they have to pay it back in 30 days. And you're probably asking, how did this happen? Well, Stephen, the husband, got on disability benefits, and while he was on disability, he was working. And that is allowed. Actually, the Social Security Administration encourages people on disability benefits who can work to be able to work part-time. There's a program called Ticket to Work program. There's a program called, Trial to Work, which allows people on disability to test out whether they can work in some capacity. Well, he did that. But the problem is that if you're working while on disability, every single month you have to report your earnings to the Social Security Administration. You have to tell them how much you're making so that your Social Security benefits will be adjusted. And they said they were doing that. They said they've been sending the Social Security Administration his earning incomes for years. And they have receipts and they have evidence to show that. But even though they were doing that, nothing happened. His benefits were not adjusted. So he was collecting the same amount of money. And then he got hit with this bill for $51,887 that he owed the Social Security Administration for overpayment, and he had 30 days to pay it back. Well, obviously, this is a shock. This caused them a lot of stress. I don't know about you, but not a lot of people, especially people on Social Security and disability benefits, majority of whom rely on Social Security and disability as their main sources of income, have $50,000 sitting around to pay this money. And second, if you're on Social Security disability, you can only have $2,000 in resources or you are at risk of losing your benefits. So if you cannot have more than $2,000 in assets, how do they expect you to pay $51,000 in debt? Well, they responded to the Social Security Administration by appealing this, and they were denied. And then they applied for a waiver, which is essentially saying that you cannot pay the bill, and that was also denied. So there is an update on their story, which I'm going to share with you in a second. The second story that 60 Minutes featured is of Jean and Glenn, and her story is even more crazy because she got on Social Security benefits 6 years ago, and the Social Security Administration incorrectly calculated how much she's supposed to get. So for 4 years, she was receiving more Social Security benefits than she was eligible for. But this is the thing. She's not responsible for that mistake. I mean, I don't know how many people can actually sit down and calculate exactly how much Social Security benefits they're supposed to receive. People rely on the Social Security Administration to do that calculation. And so when she started receiving the benefits, she probably thought this is what she was eligible for. Well, 4 years later, she got a bill for $72,000, and she was asked to pay that in 30 days. She didn't have the money, and so here's what happened. The Social Security Administration cut off her benefits. She has not received a benefit in 2 years. Yes, 2 years, her Social Security Administration benefits have been cut off for a mistake that they made. So again, she applied for an appeal. She applied for a waiver. They were all denied. But there is an update on her story, which I would share in a second. But the third story is probably the most bizarre of them all, because this is Roy Farmer, and when he was a kid, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and so he got on disability benefits, and Social Security was sending his mother benefits to take care of him. At age 11, the benefits stopped because Social Security made a determination that he was no longer disabled, so they stopped the benefits, but that's not all. They then realized years later that while he was 11 years old, they were paying him more money than he was eligible for. So as an adult in his 20s, they sent him a bill for $4,920, which he had 30 days to pay. And how are they able to do this? Is because the Social Security Administration is able to claw back money regardless of how long it is. They can go back years and years and get money that they think you were overpaid. And so even though he was overpaid as a child, now that he's an adult, they want their money back. And so They sent him this bill because they figured that he's an adult, he's working, he can afford it, and so they're trying to get it back. He applied for an appeal, a waiver, they were all denied. And then, of course, because it's a 60-minute story, Congress got notice of it. They pulled the Social Security administrator, the interim administrator before Congress. They did their whole song and dance. You know how it is when they do these hearings in Congress. It's all for the cameras. It's all for show because nothing really happens. For the most part, nothing really happens with these congressional hearings. It's just people wanting to get in front of cameras, in front of TV, and make noise. But is this really going to change how overpayments are done? Well, it remains to be seen. But essentially, this is happening because there is no accountability from the Social Security Administration, even for mistakes that they are making. Why are they going back to collect money years and years and years after the mistake was made? And even if it wasn't a mistake, if somebody was overpaid and they were not aware of it, why are we waiting 2, 3, 4 years before we go back and get the money? So here is 2 things that experts are recommending. And all this that is happening is compounded by the staffing issues that the Social Security Administration is facing, which I'm about to talk in a second, which is delaying benefits for people on retirement, people applying for disability, is because more people than ever are receiving Social Security benefits, but then there's a 25-year shortage in Social Security workers. So less people are working on Social Security in the last 25 years, and more people are getting benefits. So you have this big gap in support that I'm going to talk about. But here's the 2 things that experts are recommending. One, that the Social Security put a statute of limitation. This is something that Congress has to do. Put a statute of limitation on how far the Social Security Administration can go to get this money back. And number 2, to reform how overpayments are done and make the payment plans more flexible, because currently, for a lot of Social Security beneficiaries, taking all or some of their benefits to pay overpayments is a huge financial burden. And so this is what the critics are doing. But how about you? If you receive a Social Security letter today for overpayment, what are your options? There are 3 things you can do. And here are they. 1, you can pay the money back. If you get an overpayment letter and you agree with it and you have the money sitting around, you can pay it back and then the problem will go away. But if you are one of the many people that do not have that kind of money sitting around, your first option is to file an appeal. Now, when you receive that letter from Social Security, it's going to tell you that you can file an appeal within 60 days. But here's the catch. After 30 days, they can start going for your Social Security benefits. They can start collection items. They can stop your tax returns. Any refund you get on your taxes, they can take it. So you want to file that appeal within 30 days. Because by law, if they receive your appeal within 30 days, they cannot proceed with any collection items unless they've made a decision on your appeal. So, yes, the letter is going to say 60 days, but if you want them to pause any collection activity on your account until they've decided on your appeal, you have to file that appeal within 30 days. Now, if your appeal is denied, the next option is to file for a waiver. And a waiver is essentially saying to the Social Security Administration that you cannot pay the debt. That if they take all of your benefits or some of it, it's going to cause you serious financial problems. And so you want them to forgive the debt. Now, they're going to ask you to provide, a list of your expenses and your income and provide some more details to support your waiver application. But that is an option you can take. Now, if your waiver is denied, then you have one last option left, which is to file for a hearing before a Social Security administrative judge. And this is a legal proceeding. So the best thing probably you want to do here, if you're going to go that far and take that step, is to hire an attorney that knows how to fight these cases before the administrative judge and increase your odds of getting a good result. So those are the three options that you have in fighting overpayments. But one thing you cannot do is not do anything, because the Social Security Administration is going to take your benefits or some of it if they don't hear from you within 30 days of sending you that overpayment letter. And as you can see, they've been very active in collecting overpayments. In 2022, they collected $3.354 billion in overpayments, and there's still $21.6 billion left that they still have to collect. So those letters are going to keep going out, and if you get one of them, now you know exactly what you need to do. So that is the story on overpayments. Now let's get to the final story about the New York Times bombshell report about problems that are happening in the Social Security Administration and the customer service problems that they are facing that is causing mounting problems with Social Security benefits delays and disability benefits applications that are being stuck and not being processed. So let's jump into the details. So this picture from the New York Times pretty much sums up what's happening. You have very few workers at the Social Security Administration that are being overloaded with work. So as a result, a lot of things are not being done efficiently and on time. What does that look like? Well, as I said, there are 71 million people that are on Social Security benefits, and $1.4 trillion in benefits are paid every year. But as a result of these staffing issues, there is significant customer service issues that are happening that are affecting beneficiaries and people that are applying for Social Security. So what is the end result? Well, right now, today, if you call the Social Security Administration, you're going to probably be on hold for an average for about 36 minutes. 10 years ago, that hold time was 10 minutes. So even with all the modernization of Social Security phone systems and automated responses, because of insufficient trained employees, they are not able to reduce the hold time, and it currently stands at 36 minutes. That's the average. So it means that if you call today, you're more likely to be on hold for more than that. You may be on hold for an hour. And that is becoming a problem for those who are trying to get answers to their Social Security questions. People are having problems with their benefits. People are applying for benefits. People are applying for disability. It's a huge backlog. Another issue, another symptom or another problem that has come out of this shortage is that more than 1 million applications for Social Security disabilities are being held and have not been processed, and the average time is 7 months before an initial decision is made on the disability applications. 1 million applications. And this can be traced directly to the staffing issues that are happening there. The third issue, which I just talked about, is the overpayment. The Social Security Administration has $21.6 billion in overpayments that they need to collect back, but because of staffing issues, this is creating challenges. And you may think that that is a good thing, but the problem is that people are getting these letters and are trying to get the Social Security Administration on the phone or trying to get the attention of the Social Security Administration so that they can understand why they are receiving these overpayment letters. But because of the shortage in staffing at the Social Security Administration, they are not getting through. So the overpayment problem is being compounded by the staffing shortage. On top of all this, Congress has cut the Social Security customer service budget by 17% since 2011. And staffing, as I mentioned, is at a 25-year low. And because of this, it's created a problem in servicing beneficiaries, but during the same time, people on benefits have increased by 22%. So here's the math. 22% more people on Social Security and disability, but then staffing is at a 25-year low, and customer service budget has been cut by 17%. That is the whole picture right there. So on top of that, the president is seeking $1.3 billion to increase customer service for Social Security administration. But Republicans wants to cut $250 million in spending from the Social Security Administration. So as you can see, there is no end in sight in relieving the Social Security Administration and increasing the staffing level, because even when the president wants to increase the customer service budget, Republicans want to cut it. And if you know how Congress works today, nothing really gets done. So this battle is just going to continue. So as a result of what's happening, the Social Security Administration is watching its costs rise because more people are on benefits. So there's about $600 to $700 million in cost increases annually. But then at the same time, they're facing budget cuts. So that is also making things worse. And then there's a leadership problem to compound all of this. You know, former Maryland Governor O'Malley has been selected as the new Social Security Administrator, and is supposed to be approved. That nomination is supposed to be approved by Congress, by the Senate. And so that is going through the process. And so the Social Security Administration hasn't had a permanent administrator for a while. So on top of all the mounting problems that the Social Security Administration is facing, there's also a leadership transition that hasn't been completed yet. So that is also a big problem, and it's holding a lot of things back. And even though the current administrator has made some progress where they've added 7,900 employees to help with the challenges, there's still a big gap that the new administrator would have to resolve. So even if all the people that the Social Security Administration needs are hired, it still takes over a year to train a single worker. So if you are hired today at the Social Security Administration, it takes a year to get you trained and get you caught up to all the complex rules that the Social Security Administration has. So that is also on top of everything that is happening, is that they have to hire soon because it takes a while to get people trained and ready to be able to service the wide range of issues that beneficiaries have that they call the administration about. So essentially, Congress, the president, have to get together, get their act together, and give the Social Security Administration the resources it needs to be able to serve the record number of people that are applying for benefits, that are on benefits, that are facing issues like overpayments or lost benefits that they need help with. So that is what is happening with the Social Security Administration. I think this New York Times story hopefully gets people's attention and causes a change in the right direction. So that is all I have for you today. I want to hear from you if anything that I talked about, whether the president's plan or the overpayments or the Social Security issues that are happening, if you have any comments on that, put it in the comment section below. Until I see you in the next video, thank you for watching.